When my mother didn't answer the phone on the morning of May 15th, I thought she was still angry about the fight we had 2 days earlier. When my daughter's fiancé disappeared that same day, I thought he had gotten cold feet before the wedding. But when I discovered they had run away together with the $47,000 we had saved for the wedding, my world completely collapsed. Today I'm going to tell you the most absurd and painful story a mother could ever live through. This is a completely true story that really happened to my family. Please stay with me until the end of this incredible story. In the comments, write which city or state in America you're watching from, so I can see how far this story that devastated my family has reached. My name is Jennifer Martinez. I'm 44 years old and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. Until 2 months ago, I believed I had a united and happy family. I've been divorced for 8 years, and I raised my daughter Sophia alone, with the help of my mother Carmen, a 62-year-old woman who has always been the pillar of our family. Sophia is 22 years old and she's the light of my eyes. She's a brilliant girl, graduated in marketing from Arizona State University, with a promising job at an advertising agency in Scottsdale. 2 years ago she started dating Tyler Bennett, a 24-year-old guy who works as a personal trainer at a luxury gym in Tempe. Tyler seemed perfect for Sophia. 6 feet 3 inches tall, brown hair, green eyes, body sculpted by the gym. Handsome, athletic, ambitious. He came from a middle-class family in Tucson. His father Mike is a retired mechanic. His mother Linda works as an accountant at a law firm. He was polite, respectful, and seemed to adore my daughter. What struck me most about Tyler was how thoughtful he was with the entire family. He wasn't one of those guys who comes home just to see his girlfriend. Tyler was genuinely interested in all of us. He talked sports with me, asked about my work, seemed truly interested in our family life. But above all, he had developed a special relationship with my mother Carmen. Carmen had been widowed 5 years ago when my father died suddenly of a heart attack, and since then she had lived with me and Sophia in our house in Phoenix. Tyler seemed really fond of her. He called her Grandma Carmen and always offered to help her with errands, to accompany her to the doctor, to fix things in the house that I couldn't do. Carmen always repeated to me how sweet Tyler was with her, saying it was rare to find a young man so respectful toward the elderly. Most guys his age completely ignore older people, she often told me. Tyler instead treats me like I'm important. And she was right. Tyler seemed to truly appreciate my mother's company. Carmen was 62 years old but easily looked 10 years younger. She was one of those women who age gracefully. Tall, slender, silver hair always perfectly combed. After my father's death, she had started taking better care of herself. Gym 3 times a week, hairdresser every 2 weeks, new and fashionable clothes. She always said she wanted to be a young and active grandmother for Sophia's future grandchildren. Tyler proposed to Sophia in December 2023, during Christmas vacation. It was a fairy tale proposal in the Sedona Desert, among the red rocks at sunset, complete with a hidden photographer and a $3,000 diamond ring. Sophia was over the moon. She called me crying with happiness, told me Tyler was the man of her life and she wanted to marry him as soon as possible. They weren't in a hurry because of money or family pressure. They really loved each other. Or at least, that's how it seemed. We decided on May 2024. A spring wedding in the Phoenix Desert Botanical Garden with 150 guests. We weren't rich, but my mother and I had been saving money for years for this moment. Had saved $25,000 from my job as a manager at an insurance company. It hadn't been easy. For 8 years, every month, I had put aside what I could, giving up vacations, new clothes, dinners out, all for the dream of giving my daughter the perfect wedding. My mother had contributed another $22,000. Her life savings, plus the small inheritance she had received from selling my grandparents' house in New Mexico after their death. It was money earned with sweat and sacrifice. Every dollar represented hours of work, renunciations, postponed dreams. But it was worth it. Sophia was everything to us, and she deserved the wedding of her dreams. If this story is already hitting you, subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. And if you've experienced similar situations in your family, write it in the comments. The wedding preparations had started in January 2024. And here the first signs that something was wrong began, although at the time I didn't notice. Tyler seemed very involved in the preparations, maybe too much. He came with us to every appointment. The florist, the catering, the photographer, even the appointment for the wedding dress. Sophia always said how thoughtful he was. That many men don't care about wedding details and leave everything to the bride. Tyler is different, she told me proudly. He wants everything to be as perfect as I want it to be. But I started to notice something strange. Tyler paid particular attention when we talked about money. He wanted to know exactly how much we were spending on everything, where we kept our savings, if we had insurance or other economic reserves. He asked very specific questions about our bank accounts, our investments, even about my father's life insurance policy. When I pointed this out to Sophia, she explained that he was just being responsible, that he wanted to make sure we weren't spending too much. He's thoughtful, she told me. He doesn't want us to go into debt for the wedding. But his questions were too detailed, too precise. They didn't seem like those of someone worried about expenses, but of someone who was planning something. What started to worry me even more was the increasingly close relationship between Tyler and my mother. At first I thought it was sweet, a guy who gets attached to his future grandmother. But as the months passed, their relationship became more and more intense. Tyler started coming to our house almost every day, even when Sophia was at work. He said he was helping Grandma Carmen with errands, that it was heavy for her to carry shopping bags from the supermarket to the car. I don't want her to get hurt, he always said. She's too precious for this family. I often saw them talking in the garden, sitting close together on the bench under the large saguaro cactus that grew in our yard. They talked for hours, heads bent toward each other, as if they were telling each other important secrets. When I approached, they would stop talking and smile, immediately changing the subject. When I asked what they were talking about, my mother always answered the same thing. Tyler was telling me about his plans after the wedding. He's so ambitious. He has so many dreams for the future with Sophia. That there was something in their looks, in the way they looked at each other, that made me uncomfortable. I couldn't put my finger on it. That something didn't add up. In February 2024, I started noticing significant changes in my mother. Changes that at the time I attributed to the fact that she was excited about her granddaughter's upcoming wedding. Carmen started dressing differently. Younger clothes, brighter colors, deeper necklines. She completely changed her style. For years, my mother had dressed elegantly but soberly. Dark pantsuits, classic shirts, comfortable shoes. Suddenly she started buying tight clothes, short skirts, colorful tops that highlighted her still slender figure. She had her hair dyed a lighter blonde and started wearing much more makeup. Before she only used a little lipstick and mascara. Now she spent hours in front of the mirror, experimenting with colorful eyeshadows, highlighters, bright lipsticks. When I asked her about her new look, she told me that Tyler had complimented her, telling her she looked like a 50-year-old woman instead of 62. He told me I have youthful energy, she explained with a smile I hadn't seen in years. He made me feel young again. This comment struck me. Why was my daughter's fiancé complimenting my mother's appearance? Why was he telling her how beautiful she was? Wasn't that strange? I also started noticing that my mother was always on the phone. Before, she was one of those people who use cell phones only for emergencies. Suddenly she was always with the phone in her hand. Continuous messages that made her smile, whispered. Phone calls that she interrupted as soon as she saw me enter the room. When I asked her who it was, she always answered the same thing. It's my friends from the dance group. We're organizing the choreography for the end of course show. My mother had started a Latin dance class 2 months earlier in January. It's to stay in shape, she had explained to me. And also I want to learn to dance for Sophia's wedding. I don't want to look bad, but my mother had never danced in her life. My father hated dancing, and in 40 years of marriage I had never seen them dance together even once. Why suddenly this passion for dancing? In March, the changes became even more evident. My mother started going to the gym 5 times a week, instead of 3. She bought an entire new wardrobe. She started doing beauty treatments she had never indulged in. Weekly manicures, facial treatments, relaxing massages. I'm preparing for the wedding, she told me when I pointed out all these extra expenses. I want to be beautiful in the photos. It will be an important day for me too. But it was too much. It was as if she was preparing for her own wedding, not her granddaughter's. In April, I started noticing even stranger expenses on our shared bank accounts. Cash withdrawals that my mother made without explanations. Purchases in stores she never frequented. Transactions in places I didn't even know what they were. When I asked her about the $500 withdrawal she had made the previous Tuesday, she told me she had bought a gift for Tyler. It's a surprise for the wedding, she explained. I can't tell you, otherwise it wouldn't be a surprise anymore. When I asked her what kind of gift could cost $500, she answered with a slightly irritated tone that it was a surprise and she couldn't tell me. Don't be so curious, Jennifer. Let me do my own things. Within 3 weeks, my mother had withdrawn almost $3,000 in cash. $3,000 for gifts for Tyler. When I pointed this out to her, she got seriously angry. I spend my money however I want, she told me with a tone I had never heard her use. I'm 62 years old, Jennifer. I don't need my daughter's permission to spend my savings. But it wasn't just her savings. We were using that money also for household expenses, for bills, for the family's daily expenses. And above all, we were setting aside every cent for Sophia's wedding. 1 week before the wedding, while I was tidying up the house to prepare for the arrival of out-of-town guests, I found something completely unexpected. In my mother's room, on the nightstand next to the bed, there was a pack of birth control pills. I stood staring at them for several minutes, trying to understand. My mother was 62 years old and had been in menopause for at least 10 years. Why the hell did she have birth control pills? It made no sense. When I asked her that evening, she turned red as a pepper. She stammered something about pills that served to regulate hormones, that the doctor had prescribed them for some menopause-related disorders. When I asked her which doctor, since she had never told me she had been to the gynecologist in recent months, she answered with irritation that she didn't have to account to me for everything she did. I'm an adult woman, Jennifer. I can go to the doctor without telling you. But something didn't add up. My mother had always told me everything about her medical appointments. She had always been very open about these things. Why suddenly all this secrecy? That evening I called the office of her primary care doctor, Dr. Rodriguez, who had been following her for 15 years. The secretary confirmed what I suspected. My mother had no scheduled appointments in the last 6 months. She hadn't been to the doctor for any kind of checkup. No doctor had prescribed her the birth control pills. She had gotten them herself. But why? Before continuing with this incredible story, if you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel and activate the bell. I'd publish shocking stories like this every Tuesday and Friday. And share this video with your friends. Because stories this absurd need to be known, to be believed. 2 days before the wedding, May 16th, 2024, something happened that would change everything. While I was tidying up the living room in preparation for the arrival of relatives coming from out of state, my mother's phone started ringing. It was forgotten on the sofa, and my mother was in the garden watering the plants. I looked at the screen to see if it was an important call. The name on the display made my blood freeze. Tyler, with a red heart next to it. My heart started beating fast. Why was Tyler calling my mother? And above all, why was there a little heart next to his name? Men don't put hearts next to their future mothers-in-law's names. It's not normal. I didn't answer, but when the phone stopped ringing, I saw something that made me nauseous. There were 47 unread messages from Tyler. 47 messages from my future son-in-law to my mother. With trembling hands, I opened the messages. What I read completely destroyed me. The first message, dated 3 days earlier, said, "I can't wait to run away with you the day after tomorrow, my love. Finally, we'll be free to live our love in the light of day." My mother had responded, "Me too, darling. I've been waiting for this moment for months. Have you booked the hotel in Las Vegas as we agreed?" Tyler had confirmed. "Already. Bridal suite at the Bellagio for a week. It will be our real honeymoon, not the fake one I'm supposed to have with Sophia." Then my mother had written, "And the money? Have we managed to put together everything we needed?" Tyler had responded, "I have complete access to Sophia's account. She gave me the credit card and PIN for the last wedding purchases. We'll take everything that's there. Your savings plus hers. We should have about $60,000. My mother had asked, "Don't you feel guilty about Jennifer and Sophia? We're about to destroy their lives." And Tyler had responded with a phrase I'll never forget. "Carmen, you deserve to be happy. You've spent your whole life sacrificing yourself for others. First, for your husband, then for your daughter, then for your granddaughter. It's time to think about yourself. It's time to live for your love, for your desires. Sophia is young. She recover. You instead only have this chance to be happy." The phone fell from my hands. I couldn't breathe. The floor seemed to move under my feet. My mother, my 62-year-old mother, was planning to run away with my daughter's fiancé on their wedding day. And they were planning to steal all our savings. It couldn't be possible. It had to be a mistake, a confusion, a misunderstanding. But I continued reading the messages, and the truth became clearer and more devastating. There were love messages. That had been going on for months. Detailed plans for the escape. Discussions about where to live after Las Vegas. Tyler had already found work as a personal trainer at a gym in Nevada. My mother had already started secretly selling some of her valuable items. They had planned everything down to the smallest detail. On the wedding day, Tyler would disappear with the excuse of going to buy something he had forgotten. My mother would go out for an urgent errand. They would meet at Phoenix Airport and fly to Las Vegas, where they would get married themselves. It was a diabolical, perfect plan that would leave me and Sophia completely destroyed emotionally and financially. When my mother came back from the garden, I was waiting for her in the living room with the phone in my hand. When she saw me, the color completely disappeared from her face. She knew I had discovered everything. "Jennifer, I can explain," she started to say with a trembling voice. "Explain what?" I screamed, completely losing control. "That you're planning to run away with your granddaughter's fiancé? That you're planning to steal her wedding money? Explain this to me, Mom." My mother started crying, but they weren't tears of remorse. They were tears of anger, of frustration at being discovered. You don't understand, Jennifer. You've never understood anything. Tyler and I love each other. We really love each other. You love each other? I screamed even louder. He's 24 years old, Mom. He's the same age as your granddaughter. He should be your acquired grandson, not your lover. Love has no age, she screamed back with a vehemence I had never seen in her. Tyler makes me feel alive again. He makes me feel desired, important, special. He makes me feel like a woman, not just a forgotten grandmother. And Sophia? I asked with tears starting to fall from my eyes. Your granddaughter who loves this man, who should marry him tomorrow, who has dreamed of this day for 2 years. Sophia will find someone else, she answered with a coldness that chilled me. She's young, she's beautiful. She has her whole life ahead of her. She'll find another man. She'll fall in love again. I instead don't have time anymore. This is my last chance to be happy. I couldn't believe the words coming out of my mother's mouth. The woman who had raised me, who had taught me the values of family, honesty, loyalty, was justifying the most disgusting betrayal I could imagine. How long has this story been going on? I asked her, although part of me didn't want to know the answer. My mother wiped away her tears and looked me straight in the eyes. Since January, since the first day of wedding preparations. January? I screamed again. For 4 months? Since they started planning their future together, you were planning to destroy it for them. It wasn't supposed to go like this. My mother said. At first Tyler was just nice to me. He complimented me, treated me with respect. But then we realized there was something special between us. Something special? Mom, he's manipulating you. Don't you realize he's using you? It's not true, she screamed back. Tyler really loves me. He told me I'm the most fascinating woman he's ever met. He told me I'm too young and beautiful to waste the rest of my life alone. He told me I deserve to be loved and desired. And you believed him? Didn't you ever wonder why a 24-year-old guy would be romantically interested in a 62-year-old woman? Because age is just a number, she insisted. Because true love overcomes all barriers. Tyler loves me for who I am inside, not for what my ID says. Mum, listen to what you're saying. Tyler is manipulating you to access our money. He's using you to steal our life savings. It's not like that. Money has nothing to do with it. Tyler has a good job. He earns well. He doesn't need our money. Then why did you plan to take all $60,000? My mother hesitated for a moment. Because we want to start a new life together. We need money to settle down, to buy a house, to build our future. With your granddaughter's wedding money. With my 8-year savings. With your savings that were supposed to be for family emergencies. It was my money, my mother screamed. I can spend my money however I want. And mine? And Sophia's? For the first time, my mother couldn't answer. Mom, I told her, trying to calm myself. If you don't put an end to this madness immediately, I'll call the police and tell Sophia everything. Tomorrow is her wedding. I can't allow you to destroy her life. My mother looked at me with an expression I had never seen before. Cold, determined, almost cruel. If you do that, you'll never see me again in your life. I'd rather never see a mother who betrays her granddaughter again than have a mother who destroys her family's life for a senile whim. Senile? My mother turned red with rage. Senile? Jennifer, I'm 62 years old, not 92. I'm a woman in the prime of her maturity. I have the right to fall in love. I have the right to be happy. Not with your granddaughter's fiancé. Not by stealing the family's money. Fine, my mother said with an icy voice. Then we'll never see each other again. Tomorrow morning, Tyler and I will leave for our new life, and you can explain to Sophia why her wedding fell through." And she left the house, slamming the door with a violence that made the pictures hanging on the wall shake. I remained alone in the living room, with my mother's phone still in my hand, staring at those messages that had destroyed my conception of family, trust, maternal love. That night I didn't close my eyes for even a minute. I spent the hours walking around the house, thinking, crying, deciding what to do. Should I tell Sophia that her grandmother and her fiancé were planning to run away together on their wedding day? How could I destroy my daughter's life 24 hours before the most important day of her existence? But at the same time, how could I allow it to happen? How could I stay quiet and watch while Sophia was abandoned at the altar, while all our savings disappeared, while our family was destroyed by this monstrous betrayal? At 6 a.m, I made the most difficult decision of my life. I had to tell Sophia everything. I couldn't protect her from the truth, no matter how painful it was. I called her with trembling hands. "Sophia, come home immediately. We need to talk. It's urgent." "Mom, today is my wedding day," she protested. "I have 1,000 things to do. I have to go to the hairdresser at 8, then to the makeup artist at 10. Then I have to get dressed. Then there are the photos, then ... "Sophia, please," I interrupted her. "It's more urgent than all of this. Come right now." The tone of my voice convinced her it was something serious. "Mom, you're scaring me. Did something happen to Tyler? To Grandma? Come home, honey. I'll explain everything when you're here." An hour later, Sophia was sitting on my sofa, still in pajamas, with messy hair and a confused and worried expression. "Mum, what's happening? Where's Grandma? Why isn't she answering the phone?" "Sophia," I began with a trembling voice, "what I'm about to tell you will break your heart. But you need to know. I can't let you find out the truth in the worst way." "What are you talking about? You're scaring me." I took my mother's phone and showed it to her. "Read these messages." Sophia took the phone with uncertain hands. I saw her face change expression as she read. First confusion, then disbelief, then shock, then pure horror. When she finished reading, she remained silent for what seemed like an eternity. Then she started shaking. She wasn't crying. She was shaking as if she was cold. "It's not possible," she whispered. "It can't be true. Tyler would never do such a thing. And Grandma ... Grandma loves me. She would never hurt me. Sophia No!" she suddenly screamed. "It's not true. These messages are fake. Someone is using Grandma's phone to play a cruel joke on her. Honey, it's not a joke. I talked to your grandmother last night. She confessed everything." Sophia looked at me as if I had become a stranger. "She confessed what?" "That she and Tyler fell in love. That they plan to run away together today. That they want to take all the money and start a new life in Las Vegas." Sophia started crying. They weren't normal tears. It was deep, visceral, crying like that of a wounded animal. She was sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "Sophia, breathe. Breathe slowly." "Mum," she managed to say between sobs. "Today was supposed to be the most beautiful day of my life. The day I married the man I love. The day I became a wife. The day I've been dreaming of since I was a child." "I know, honey. I know. And instead I discover that the man I love is cheating on me with my grandmother. With my grandmother, Mum. How is such a disgusting thing possible?" I didn't know what to answer. There were no words to console her, to explain, to make sense of what had happened. "Let's try calling Tyler," I desperately proposed. "Maybe we can make him change his mind." Maybe we can save the wedding. Maybe it's just a moment of madness, and it can still be fixed. Sophia took her phone and called Tyler. The phone rang empty until voicemail. She called again. Same result. She sent messages. Tyler, please answer me. I know everything. Let's talk about it. We can resolve this. No response. I called my mother from my phone. Her cell phone also rang empty. It was as if they had disappeared from the face of the earth. At 10 in the morning, 4 hours before the wedding. Neither Tyler nor my mother were reachable. Sophia got dressed quickly and went to Tyler's house in Tempe. She came back an hour later, completely devastated. The house is empty, Mom, she told me with a broken voice. They took everything away. Tyler's clothes, his personal things, even the photos of us that he kept on the nightstand. The house looks like it's been abandoned for days. We had to start making the most difficult phone calls of our lives. Calling 150 guests to say the wedding was cancelled. Calling the florist, the catering, the photographer, the band, the hairdresser, the makeup artist. Everyone wanted to know why. How could we explain that the groom had run away with the bride's grandmother? How could we say something so absurd, so disgusting, so unthinkable? We decided to say that Tyler had had a serious family emergency and that the wedding was postponed indefinitely. We weren't obligated to give more specific details, but rumors started spreading quickly. In a city like Phoenix, such strange news spreads fast. And the fact that my mother had also disappeared the same day gave rise to gossip and speculation. If this story is keeping you glued to the screen, help me grow the channel by sharing it on your social media. And if you know similar stories or have experienced family betrayals, write it in the comments. I always read everything and respond when I can. The day after the missed wedding, I went to the bank to check our accounts. What I discovered was even worse than I had imagined. Tyler had completely emptied the shared account that he and Sophia used for wedding expenses. $31,000 gone with a withdrawal made at 6:30 in the morning on the wedding day. But that wasn't all. My mother had closed her savings account the day before and withdrawn all her $22,000 in cash. She had also emptied the checking account we shared for household expenses. Another $8,000 gone. In total, they had stolen $61,000. The life savings of 2 women, my daughter's wedding dreams, our family's financial security. All gone in one morning. I immediately called the police. Officer Martinez, a man in his 50s with grey mustache, took the report professionally, but without much enthusiasm. Mrs. Martinez, he explained to me, technically your mother had legal access to her bank accounts, and Mr. Bennett had written permission from your daughter to use their shared card for wedding purchases. It will be very difficult to prove theft from a legal standpoint. But they planned everything. I have the messages that prove it. This could definitely help, the officer admitted. But first we need to find them. Do you have any idea where they might have gone? The messages talked about Las Vegas. They were supposed to get married at the Bellagio. We'll verify. But Mrs. Martinez, I have to be honest with you. Cases like this are very complicated from a legal standpoint, especially when they involve family members. The officer started the official searches, but Tyler and my mother seem to have completely disappeared. No trace, no clue, no sign of their presence. In the following days, Sophia and I became private detectives. We spent hours and hours on the phone, calling all the hotels in Las Vegas, checking their credit cards online every 5 minutes, searching on social media for any trace of the fugitives. Nothing. It was as if they had dissolved into thin air. Then I had an intuition. Tyler was a certified personal trainer and had to maintain his professional licenses to be able to work legally. I called the Arizona National Personal Trainers Association. Yes, the secretary confirmed. Tyler Bennett requested the transfer of his professional license to Nevada last week. It's a standard procedure when a trainer moves to another state. Nevada. They had really gone to Las Vegas, exactly as they had planned. A week after the escape, Tyler called Sophia. It was 1 PM. Sophia was at work, and when she saw Tyler's name on the phone, she started shaking. Sophia, Tyler said with his usual calm voice, I can explain everything that happened. Explain what? My daughter screamed so loud that her colleagues turned to look at her. That you ran away with my grandmother on our wedding day. That you stole all our money. That you betrayed me in the most disgusting way possible. It's not that simple, Sophia. What happened between me and Carmen ... It wasn't planned. It happened naturally, organically. We fell in love. It wasn't planned. Tyler, I saw the messages. You were planning for 4 months. Tyler hesitated. Okay, yes, eventually. We planned the details. But falling in love was spontaneous. You can't control who you fall in love with, Sophia. You can control whether to betray the person you love. You can control whether to destroy a family's life. Sophia, you deserve someone who loves you completely, with all their heart. I realized I love another person. It's better that you know. Now rather than after 10 years of unhappy marriage. Another person who is 62 years old and is my grandmother. Sophia screamed. Tyler, do you realize how sick what you did is? Love has no age, Sophia. Carmen is an incredible woman, full of life, passion, energy. She makes me feel alive. And the money? Does love for money also have no age? Tyler hesitated again. We'll pay you back everything. It's just ... We need time to settle into our new life. Where are you? I can't tell you. But we're fine. Carmen is happy. She's happier than she's been in years. And me. And my mother. And the family you destroyed. I'm sorry, Sophia. Really. That sometimes in life you have to make difficult choices to be happy. And he hung up. 2 days later, it was my mother who called. She called me directly, on my cell phone, at 9 PM. Jennifer, she said with an uncertain voice, I know you're angry with me. Angry. I screamed so loud the neighbors must have heard. Mom, you destroyed your granddaughter's life. You stole our savings. You betrayed your family in the most disgusting way possible. I didn't do it to hurt anyone, my mother replied. I did it because I'm happy for the first time in years. For the first time since your father's death, I feel alive. You're happy. At your granddaughter's expense. You destroyed her dreams, her trust, her future. Sophia will recover. She's young. She's beautiful. She's intelligent. She'll find another man, fall in love again, have a beautiful life. And you, Mom? You who are 62 years old and are with a guy who could be your grandson. Does this seem normal to you? Age is just a number, Jennifer. Tyler loves me for who I am inside. He makes me feel desired, important, special. Mum, listen to what you're saying. Tyler is a manipulator. He's using you for money, for convenience. Maybe to get documents or who knows what else. It's not true. Tyler has a good job. He earns well as a personal trainer. He doesn't need our money. Then why did you take all $61,000? Silence on the phone. Mom, come home. Leave Tyler. Come back to your family. We'll fix everything together. Even Sophia, with time, might forgive you. I can't, Jennifer. Tyler needs me. He's fragile, he's sensitive. He needs a mature woman who understands him. And us? Your daughter and your granddaughter? Don't we need you? You are strong. You know how to manage on your own. Tyler instead needs protection, care, love. I couldn't believe my mother was saying that a 24-year-old man needed her more than her destroyed family. Mum, if you don't come home immediately, you're dead to me. I won't consider you my mother anymore. Then I guess that's how it is, my mother said with a cold voice. Goodbye, Jennifer. And she hung up. I remained staring at the phone for hours. My mother had chosen a 24-year-old guy who was clearly manipulating her instead of the family that had loved and supported her all her life. We hired a private investigator, Jack Rodriguez, a Mexican-American ex-cop in his 50s who had opened a private investigative agency in Phoenix. It cost $300 a day plus expenses, but it was our only hope of recovering our money, and maybe even my mother. Jack was efficient and professional. Within 3 days he had found concrete traces. I've located them, he called me on a Wednesday morning. They registered at the Bellagio in Las Vegas as Mr. and Mrs. Tyler Bennett on May 18th. They paid for a week of bridal suite in advance, $3,000 a night. Are they still there? I asked with my heart beating fast. No, they checked out 3 days ago. But I have contacts in Las Vegas who work in the hotel industry. I'll keep looking. How much have they spent so far? From the credit card transactions I've been able to trace, I'd say at least $25,000 in a week. Luxury restaurants, shopping, casinos, spas, excursions. $25,000 in 7 days. They were burning our life savings on luxury vacations and rich people's whims. Meanwhile, we had to rebuild our lives. Sophia was completely devastated. She had lost her fiancé, her grandmother, and her savings all at once. It was as if her entire existence had been cancelled in one day. One evening, I found her sitting on the couch crying while looking at photos of their engagement. On her phone. Mum, she told me with a broken voice. How did I not notice anything? The signs were all there. Tyler, who always came here even when I wasn't there. Grandma, who behaved like a teenager. The money that was disappearing. How could I have been so blind? I didn't notice either, honey. When you love someone, when you trust someone, you don't want to see the negative signs. You prefer to believe everything is fine. But it was so obvious. Tyler complimenting Grandma on her appearance. Tyler, who always took her out for errands. Grandma, who bought new clothes, who went to the gym every day, who always had her phone in her hand. Don't blame yourself, Sophia. They took advantage of our trust, our love. They were manipulative and cruel. Do you think Tyler ever really loved me? Or was it always an act to get to Grandma and the money? It was the question that broke my heart. I don't know, honey. Maybe at first his feelings were sincere. But from January onwards it was all fake. 2 years of my life thrown away. 2 years when I thought I'd found the love of my life. They're not thrown away, Sophia. They taught you something. They made you stronger, wiser. But even as I spoke those words, I knew how empty and useless they sounded. The story began to spread in Phoenix's Latino community. My friends, Sophia's colleagues, even people we barely knew started offering emotional and financial support. My neighbor Maria, a 55-year-old Mexican woman who had lived next to us for 10 years, came to visit us with a casserole of enchiladas and tears in her eyes. Jennifer, I heard what happened to you. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life. A grandmother who betrays her granddaughter on her wedding day. It's against nature. It's diabolical. The priest of our church, Father Miguel, a gentleman originally from Guatemala, came to our house to pray with us and offer spiritual support. My daughters, he told us, God forgives everything, even the most serious sins. But what happened in your family? This is difficult to understand even for me, who has seen many things in my life as a priest. 2 weeks after the escape, Jack the investigator called us with important news. I found them, he said with a satisfied tone. They're living in a motel in Reno, Nevada. The Starlight Inn on Highway 80. It's not exactly the Bellagio. A motel? Sophia asked, who had taken the call on speakerphone. Why a shitty motel instead of luxury hotels? Jack laughed bitterly. Because they spent most of the money in Las Vegas. Casinos, compulsive shopping, ridiculously expensive restaurants. According to my sources, they burned at least $45,000 in 2 weeks. $45,000 in 14 days. They had squandered almost all our savings in an orgy of crazy spending. How much do they have left? I asked. From the account. Movements, I'd say about $15,000. But they keep spending, so it could be even less. We decided to go to Reno to confront them in person. We couldn't allow them to continue wasting what remained of our money. And above all, I wanted to look my mother in the eyes and ask her how she could have destroyed her family for a whim. Jack gave us all the information. Starlight Inn, Highway 80, room number 23. A $49 a night motel with terrible reviews on the internet. The trip from Phoenix to Reno took 6 hours by car. Sophia and I left early Saturday morning, determined to recover at least part of our money and convince my mother to come home. During the trip, Sophia asked me the question I feared. Mom, what will we say when we see them? What will we do if Grandma refuses to come home? I don't know, honey. We'll improvise. But one thing is certain. They need to understand the harm they've done. And they need to return what's left of the money. And if Tyler becomes aggressive, and if they don't want to give us anything, that's why I called the Reno police. They know we're coming. If there are problems, they'll intervene. Inn was exactly what you'd expect from a $49 a night motel in an industrial area of Reno. Gravel parking lot full of potholes. Broken neon signs that flickered intermittently. Penetrating smell of stale cigarettes and industrial disinfectant that couldn't cover other less pleasant odors. Room 23 was on the ground floor, at the end of an external corridor that was stained and degraded. I knocked on the door with my heart beating frantically. Tyler opened the door, and when he saw us, his expression went from surprise to pure terror. He had lost weight, had scruffy beard, deep circles under his eyes. He no longer looked like the handsome, athletic, and confident guy we knew. Jennifer, Sophia, quotes, he stammered. How did you find us? Move, I told him, pushing him aside and entering the room. Where is my mother? The room was small, dirty, depressing. 2 unmade single beds, stained carpet, 20-year-old television, air that smelled of mold and desperation. My mother was sitting on one of the beds, wrapped in a white motel bathrobe that had seen better days. When she saw us, she said nothing. She looked like she had aged 20 years in 2 weeks. Dirty and disheveled hair, smudged makeup, swollen and red eyes. Grandma, Sophia said, starting to cry as soon as she saw her. Why did you do this to me? Why did you destroy my life? My mother lowered her gaze. Sophia, I didn't want to hurt you. You didn't want to hurt me, my daughter screamed. You stole my fiancé on my wedding day. We're almost at the end of this incredible story. If it has affected you, share it with those you think could benefit from it. And if you want to know how this story ends, stay until the end, because there's a twist you won't expect. What we saw in that motel room was pathetic and depressing. Tyler and my mother, who just 2 weeks before saw themselves as a romantic couple fleeing toward a new life of luxury and love, now looked like 2 tired, defeated strangers full of unspoken recriminations. The atmosphere in the room was tense, charged with regrets not expressed. It was evident that things between them weren't going as they had planned. The money, I asked directly, without preambles. How much is left of our $61,000? Tyler lowered his gaze, avoiding mine. They're almost finished. Almost finished? I screamed, completely losing control. It was $61,000. Life savings. How can you say they're almost finished? My mother started, stammering justifications. Las Vegas was more expensive than we thought. And Tyler wanted to let me experience the good life. He wanted me to live experiences I had never had. Good life. I interrupted her, looking around that squalid room. This would be the good life? You've reduced yourselves to living in a $4 motel that sucks. Tyler tried to intervene. We had a bit of bad luck at the casino. We thought we could multiply the money, that we could earn enough to pay you back and still have some for US. Bad luck at the casino. Sophia finally found her voice to speak. You gambled with my wedding money. The truth that emerged in the following hours was even worse than what we had imagined. Tyler and my mother had spent the first $30,000 in a week of unbridled luxury in Las Vegas. Extremely expensive suites, Michelin-starred restaurants, compulsive shopping in the most exclusive stores, $1,000-a-day spa treatments, helicopter excursions, VIP shows. I wanted to make Carmen feel like a queen. Tyler justified himself. I wanted her to experience everything she had missed in 40 years of marriage with a man who didn't appreciate her. But when the first $30,000 ran out, instead of stopping, Tyler convinced my mother to try their luck at the casino, to multiply what remained. He told me he was good with cards, my mother explained with a broken voice. He told me he had a system to win at blackjack, that in one night we could double the money. Instead, in one disastrous night at the Bellagio gaming table, they lost another $25,000. $25,000 thrown away in 6 hours of compulsive gambling. Tyler kept saying that luck was about to turn. My mother continued crying. He kept saying we just needed to be patient, that the system worked, that we would recover everything. There remained just under $6,000, which they were using to survive in that degrading motel, eating fast food and constantly arguing about money and the future. I sat on the bed next to my mother. Up close, I could see how much she had changed in 2 weeks. Grey skin, dirty hair, hands that trembled slightly. She looked like a sick woman. Mum, I told her with a calmer voice. Look at yourself. Look where this great love has brought you. 2 weeks ago you thought you were living a fairy tale. Now you're in a shitty motel without money and without dignity. My mother started crying with deep sobs. I know, Jennifer. I know I messed up everything. I know I destroyed my family for a stupid dream. Then why did you do it? Why did you choose him instead of us? Because I felt invisible, my mother suddenly screamed. I felt old, useless, forgotten. Tyler made me feel desirable again, important, alive. But it was all fake, Mom. Didn't you ever realize it was all fake? I looked at Tyler, who was standing near the window, carefully avoiding our gaze. Tyler, I told him, tell me the truth. Do you really love my mother? Or did you always know you were just using a vulnerable elderly woman? Tyler didn't respond. Answer. My mother suddenly screamed. Tell me you love me. Tell me all this wasn't just for the money. Tyler turned slowly. His face was completely devoid of emotion. Cold, detached. Carmen, he said with a flat voice, you're an interesting woman. But you're 62 years old. I'm 24. What did you think was going to happen long term? The silence in the room was deafening. My mother stared at him with total disbelief. What do you mean? My mother asked with a trembling voice. I said what you wanted to hear. The right words at the right moment to convince you to do what was needed. And what was needed, Tyler? I asked. The money is finished, Carmen. Experiment is over. It was fun for a while, but now it's time to return to reality. That was the moment when my mother finally, completely, irrevocably understood the truth. Tyler had never loved her. He had never felt anything romantic or genuine for her. He had manipulated her, used her, exploited her to access our savings. He had convinced her to betray her family for pure economic calculation. Oh my God, my mother whispered, bringing her hands to her mouth. Oh my God, what have I done? What have I done to my family? What have I done to my granddaughter? Tyler was already moving around the room, gathering his few things. He took a suitcase from the corner and started throwing clothes inside chaotically. Where are you going? Sophia asked. It's none of your business, Tyler replied without even looking at her. You three need to solve your family problems. I have other things to do. And the money that's left? I insisted. Tyler hesitated for a moment, then pulled out a roll of bills from his jeans pocket. Here, he said, throwing them on the bed next to my mother. There are about $4,000 left. Take them. $4,000? Sophia was about to explode. Out of 61,000, only 4,000 are left? The rest is gone, Tyler said with a shrug, as if he had lost change at the vending machine. Las Vegas is expensive. Tyler, my mother said with a desperate voice. You can't leave me here. You can't leave like this. I thought we loved each other. Tyler stopped at the door and looked at her with an expression of annoyance. Carmen, it's time to grow up. You're a 62-year-old woman. Find someone your age and stop having teenage dreams. And he left the room, slamming the door, leaving. U.S. there. 3 destroyed. Betrayed. Robbed women. My mother collapsed completely. She threw herself on the bed and started crying like I had never seen her do. Not even when my father died. It was total, desperate crying of someone who has lost everything and has understood they did it for the wrong reasons. Jennifer, she managed to say between sobs, will you ever forgive me? Will Sophia ever be able to forgive me? How can I repair what I've done? It was the million-dollar question. How do you repair such a deep, devastating, complete betrayal? The return trip to Phoenix was the longest and most silent of my life. My mother sat in the back seat, folded in on herself, crying silently. Sophia drove with clenched jaw and eyes fixed on the road. I stared at the desert landscape scrolling outside the window. None of us spoke for the first 3 hours. The silence was thick with pain, anger, disappointment, and a sadness so deep it seemed physical. Finally, when we were almost at the Arizona border, my mother broke the silence. Jennifer, she said with a barely audible voice, I know I can never be forgiven for what I've done, but I have to ask for your forgiveness anyway. I have to try. I turned to look at her. She looked like a completely different woman from the one who had left Phoenix 2 weeks earlier. Smaller, more fragile, aged by years. Mom, I told her, you destroyed everything. The family, the relationships, trust. You broke your granddaughter's heart on the day that was supposed to be the most beautiful of her life. You threw away life savings for a whim. You chose a manipulative stranger instead of the family that loved you. I know, she whispered. I know all this. Then why did you do it? Why did you throw away 40 years of being a wonderful mother and grandmother for 2 weeks of madness? My mother cried for several minutes before answering. Because I felt old, Jennifer. I felt invisible, useless, forgotten. After your father's death, I felt like my life was over. Like I had become just a burden for you two. But it wasn't true, Mom. You were the center of our family. We loved you. We respected you. We needed you. I know now. But when Tyler started paying attention to me, complimenting me, treating me like a desirable woman, he made me feel alive again. He made me believe I could have a second chance at love, passion, life. But it was all fake. I know now, my mother repeated. I know it was all an act to get to the money. But in that moment I wanted to believe it so desperately that I ignored all the warning signs. Sophia spoke for the first time since the motel, without taking her eyes off the road. Grandma, you weren't invisible to us. You were everything to me. You were the person I trusted most in the world. I know, dear. But this wasn't enough for you. You wanted more. You wanted what was mine. My fiancé, my dreams, my life. It was exactly like that, Grandma. Sophia raised her voice. You wanted to steal my life because you thought yours was over. And when you took what you wanted, you discovered it was all made of lies and manipulations. My mother couldn't answer because she knew Sophia was right. The problem, Sophia continued, is that now all three of us have lost everything. I lost my fiancé and my wedding dreams. You lost your dignity and family. Mum lost 8 years of savings and trust in her mother. Tyler is the only one who won in this story. She was right. Tyler had had weeks of luxurious life, had enjoyed attention and adulation, had spent money that wasn't his, and in the end had left without consequences. We three women were the ones who had paid the highest price. When we arrived in Phoenix, we had to face an immediate practical decision. The house was technically mine, but my mother had lived there for 5 years. Could she stay? Mum, I told her while we were parked in front of the house, you can stay. But things have to change. Completely. You have to go to therapy. You have to rebuild trust step by step. And you have to help us recover what you can of the lost money. How? My mother asked. By working, finding a job, putting back together what you can of the savings. Dollar by dollar. My mother, who hadn't worked for 10 years since the moment my father died and came to live with us, immediately accepted. I'll do any job. I'll clean offices, work in fast food, I'll do anything. And above all, I added, you have to earn Sophia's forgiveness day by day. It won't be easy, and maybe you'll never completely succeed. Sophia got out of the car without saying a word and went into the house dot with the help of a lawyer specializing in family fraud. We filed a civil lawsuit against Tyler for embezzlement, manipulation of a vulnerable person, and aggravated fraud. But the lawyer, like the policeman had, wasn't very optimistic. The problem, he explained to us, is that technically your mother was consenting. We can't prove she was forced. And Tyler had legal access to Sophia's accounts. But he manipulated her. He took advantage of a vulnerable 62-year-old woman after her husband's death. That's true. But from a legal standpoint, it's very difficult to prove. We can try, but don't expect miracles. In the end, we only obtained a restraining order that prevented Tyler from approaching any member of our family. Tyler, for his part, disappeared completely. He moved to California, and we never heard from him again. The following months were the most difficult of our lives, but also the most cathartic. We had to rebuild everything. Relationships, trust, economic stability. Mother found work as an assistant in a nursing home in Glendale, ironically taking care of people her age or older. The work was humiliating for a woman who had been used to not working, but she did it without complaining. It's what I deserve, she told me one evening, coming home tired and with aching feet. It's the least I can do to start repairing the damage I caused. Sophia started intensive therapy with a psychologist specializing in betrayal trauma. The process was slow and painful, but gradually she began to rebuild her ability to trust others. One day, about 4 months after the wedding that never was, Sophia asked me a question that broke my heart. Mom, do you think I'll ever be able to trust someone again? Do you think I'll ever be able to love again without the fear of being betrayed? Yes, honey, I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. But now you know what to look for. Now you know how to recognize the danger signals. This terrible experience has made you wiser. But it's also made me more scared. Every time a man smiles at me, I wonder what he wants from me. Every time someone is kind to me, I think there's an ulterior motive. It was understandable. How could she trust again after discovering that the man she loved was cheating on her with her grandmother for months? That this isn't where the story ends. Because Sophia, my wonderful and strong daughter, had a revenge in mind that none of us expected. 6 months after the missed wedding, Sophia had slowly started to recover. She had met David Ramirez, a 28-year-old computer engineer who worked for a large tech company in Tempe. David was everything Tyler pretended to be. Kind, honest, transparent, respectful. The first thing Sophia did with David was tell him the whole story of Tyler and my mother. She didn't hide anything, didn't minimize, wasn't ashamed. She told him exactly what had happened, and why it was so difficult for her to trust again. David didn't judge her. He didn't get scared. He didn't run away. Instead, he hugged her and said, "Sophia, what happened to you is terrible. And not all men are like Tyler. And not all families hide such deep betrayals." To prove his transparency, David spontaneously gave her complete access to everything. Phone, computer, bank accounts, emails, social media. "I don't want you to ever have to doubt again," he told her. "My life is an open book for you." Sophia gradually fell in love with David. Not the overwhelming and blind love she had felt for Tyler, but a more mature love based on trust, respect, honest communication. They got engaged 8 months after meeting. David asked for my blessing before proposing, something Tyler had never done. The wedding was scheduled for September of the following year. A small, intimate event with only close family and dearest friends. "I don't want a big wedding," Sophia explained. "I want only the people I completely trust. And this time, there are very few." My mother was invited, but didn't have a special role. She wouldn't be the witness, wouldn't make a speech, wouldn't have particular responsibilities. "It's right like this," my mother told me. "I don't deserve it yet. Maybe I never will again." But 2 months before Sophia's wedding to David, something completely unexpected happened. Something none of us had foreseen. Tyler reappeared. He called Sophia directly on her cell phone on a Tuesday afternoon while she was at work. Sophia saw the name on the display, and for a moment thought of not answering. Then she decided to hear what he had to say. "Sophia," Tyler said with his calm voice. She knew so well. "I heard you're getting married again. I wanted to congratulate you." "How did you find out?" Sophia asked coldly. "I still have some friends in Phoenix. News travels." "What do you want, Tyler?" "I wanted to apologize. For everything. For what I did to you, to your mother, to your family. I know it can't erase the pain I caused, but I wanted you to know I regret it." Sophia recorded the conversation, something she had learned to do after our experience. Tyler continued, "I know what I did is unforgivable. I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. I ruined the most important day of your life. I stole your savings." "Where are you now, Tyler?" "I was in prison in California for 6 months. Another scam similar to what I did to you. But I got out on bail and I'm waiting for trial." Sophia immediately realized what this meant. Tyler was a repeat offender. He had done the same thing to other families. We hadn't been his only victims. "Tyler, how many other families have you destroyed?" Tyler hesitated. Sophia, I'm trying to change. I'm going to therapy. I realized I was wrong about everything. How many, Tyler? In the last 5 years. Maybe 4 or 5 similar situations. 4 or 5 families. Dozens of lives destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen. Tyler was a serial predator specializing in manipulating vulnerable elderly women. I wanted to ask if we could meet, Tyler continued. Just to talk, to close this story in peace. Sophia agreed, but didn't tell him she wouldn't come alone. That evening, Sophia called me and told me everything about the phone call. Then she told me her plan. Mum, I want to set a trap for him. I want to expose him publicly. I want the whole world to know what kind of predator he is. How? I contacted an investigative journalist from the Phoenix New Times who is writing an article about romance scammers. And I also called the police. When Tyler comes to the appointment, he'll find much more than he expects. Sophia's plan was perfect. Tyler thought he was meeting a vulnerable ex-girlfriend he might still be able to manipulate. Instead, he would find me, 2 police officers, a journalist with a camera, and Sophia, who had a hidden recorder. The appointment was set for Thursday at 3 p.m. at the Starbucks and Biltmore Shopping Center, a public and safe place. When Tyler arrived, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, he looked nervous but confident. He probably thought he could still use his charm to manipulate Sophia. Instead, as soon as he sat at the table where he thought he would find only Sophia, he found himself surrounded. The journalist, Mike Chun, immediately started asking questions. With the camera on, Mr. Bennett, can you explain your method for choosing victims? How do you identify vulnerable elderly women? Tyler turned white as a sheet. What's happening is that your career as a scammer is over, Sophia said with a firm and determined voice. Did you think you could manipulate my family again? Did you think I was still that naive girl from 2 years ago? The officers approached. Tyler had violated the terms of his bail by contacting us, since we had a restraining order against him. Tyler Bennett, Officer Rodriguez said, you're under arrest for violating the restraining order and harassment. The journalist kept asking questions while Tyler was being handcuffed. How many families have you destroyed? What's your total profit from these scams? Do you feel remorse for the lives you've ruined? Tyler couldn't answer. He was incomplete. Shocked, Sophia approached Tyler while they were putting handcuffs on him. Tyler, she told him, looking him straight in the eyes, did you think you could come back into my life and manipulate me again? I learned from your mistakes. I learned to recognize predators like you. And now the whole world will know what kind of monster you are. Sophia, I really wanted to apologize. Your apologies are worthless, Tyler. Justice and truth are what matter. The journalist's article came out the following week with a headline that went around all of Arizona. The marriage predator. How a personal trainer destroyed dozens of families. And above all, I added, you have to earn Sophia's forgiveness day by day. It won't be easy, and maybe you'll never completely succeed. Sophia got out of the car without saying a word and went into the house dot with the help of a lawyer specializing in family fraud. We filed a civil lawsuit against Tyler for embezzlement, manipulation of a vulnerable person, and aggravated fraud. But the lawyer, like the policeman had, wasn't very optimistic. The problem, he explained to us, is that technically your mother was consenting. We can't prove she was forced. And Tyler had legal access to Sophia's accounts. But he manipulated her. He took advantage of a vulnerable 62-year-old woman after her husband's death. That's true, but from a legal standpoint it's very difficult to prove. We can try, but don't expect miracles. In the end, we only obtained a restraining order that prevented Tyler from approaching any member of our family. Tyler, for his part, disappeared completely. He moved to California and we never heard from him again. The following months were the most difficult of our lives, but also the most cathartic. We had to rebuild everything. Relationships, trust, economic stability. My mother found work as an assistant in a nursing home in Glendale, ironically taking care of people her age or older. The work was humiliating for a woman who had been used to not working, but she did it without complaining. "It's what I deserve," she told me one evening coming home and with aching feet. "It's the least I can do to start repairing the damage." I caused. Sophia started intensive therapy with a psychologist specializing in betrayal trauma. The process was slow and painful, but gradually she began to rebuild her ability to trust others. One day, about 4 months after the wedding that never was, Sophia asked me a question that broke my heart. "Mum, do you think I'll ever be able to trust someone again? Do you think I'll ever be able to love again without the fear of being betrayed?" "Yes, honey," I replied, trying to sound more confident than I felt. "But now you know what to look for. Now you know how to recognize the danger signals. This terrible experience has made you wiser, but it's also made me more scared. Every time a man smiles at me, I wonder what he wants from me. Every time someone is kind to me, I think there's an ulterior motive." It was understandable. How could she trust again after discovering that the man she loved was cheating on her with her grandmother for months? That this isn't where the story ends. Because Sophia, my wonderful and strong daughter, had a revenge in mind that none of us expected. Months after the missed wedding, Sophia had slowly started to recover. She had met David Ramirez, a 28-year-old computer engineer who worked for a large tech company in Tempe. David was everything Tyler pretended to be. Kind, honest, transparent, respectful. The first thing Sophia did with David was tell him the whole story of Tyler and my mother. She didn't hide anything, didn't minimize, wasn't ashamed. She told him exactly what had happened and why it was so difficult for her to trust again. David didn't judge her. He didn't get scared. He didn't run away. Instead, he hugged her and said, "Sophia, what happened to you is terrible. But not all men are like Tyler. And not all families hide such deep betrayals." To prove his transparency, David spontaneously gave her complete access to everything. Phone, computer, bank accounts, emails, social media. "I don't want you to ever have to doubt again," he told her. "My life is an open book for you." Sophia gradually fell in love with David. Not the overwhelming and blind love she had felt for Tyler, but a more mature love based on trust, respect, honest communication. They got engaged 8 months after meeting. David asked for my blessing before proposing, something Tyler had never done. The wedding was scheduled for September of the following year. A small, intimate event with only close family and dearest friends. "I don't want a big wedding," Sophia explained. "I want only the people I completely trust. And this time, there are very few." My mother was invited, but didn't have a special role. She wouldn't be the witness, wouldn't make a speech, wouldn't have particular responsibilities. "It's right like this," my mother told me. "I don't deserve it yet. Maybe I never will again." But 2 months before Sophia's wedding to David, something completely unexpected happened. Something none of us had foreseen. Tyler reappeared. He called Sophia directly on her cell phone on a Tuesday afternoon while she was at work. Sophia saw the name on the display and for a moment thought of not answering. Then she decided to hear what he had to say. "Sophia," Tyler said with his calm voice. She knew so well. "I heard you're getting married again. I wanted to congratulate you. How did you find out? Sophia asked coldly. I still have some friends in Phoenix. News travels. What do you want, Tyler? I wanted to apologize. For everything. For what I did to you, to your mother, to your family. I know it can't erase the pain I caused. But I wanted you to know I regret it. Sophia recorded the conversation, something she had learned to do after our experience. Tyler continued. I know what I did is unforgivable. I betrayed your trust in the worst possible way. I ruined the most important day of your life. I stole your savings. Where are you now, Tyler? I was in prison in California for 6 months. Another scam similar to what I did to you. But I got out on bail and I'm waiting for trial. Sophia immediately realized what this meant. Tyler was a repeat offender. He had done the same thing to other families. We hadn't been his only victims. Tyler, how many other families have you destroyed? Tyler hesitated. Sophia, I'm trying to change. I'm going to therapy. I realized I was wrong about everything. How many, Tyler? In the last 5 years. Maybe 4 or 5 similar situations. 4 or 5 families. Dozens of lives destroyed. Hundreds of thousands of dollars stolen. Tyler was a serial predator specializing in manipulating vulnerable elderly women. I wanted to ask if we could meet, Tyler continued. Just to talk. To close this story in peace. Sophia agreed, but didn't tell him she wouldn't come alone. That evening, Sophia called me and told me everything about the phone call. Then she told me her plan. Mom, I want to set a trap for him. I want to expose him publicly. I want the whole world to know what kind of predator he is. How? I contacted an investigative journalist from the Phoenix New-Times who is writing an article about romance scammers. And I also called the police. When Tyler comes to the appointment, he'll find much more than he expects. Sophia's plan was perfect. Tyler thought he was meeting a vulnerable ex-girlfriend he might still be able to manipulate. Instead, he would find me. 2 police officers, a journalist with a camera, and Sophia who had a hidden recorder. The appointment was set for Thursday at 3 p.m. at the Starbucks in Biltmore Shopping Center, a public and safe place. When Tyler arrived, dressed in jeans and a t-shirt, he looked nervous but confident. He probably thought he could still use his charm to manipulate Sophia. Instead, as soon as he sat at the table where he thought he would find only Sophia, he found himself surrounded. The journalist, Mike Chun, immediately started asking questions. With the camera on, Mr. Bennett, can you explain your method for choosing victims? How do you identify vulnerable elderly women? Tyler turned white as a sheet. What's happening? What's happening is that your career as a scammer is over, Sophia said with a firm and determined voice. Did you think you could manipulate my family again? Did you think I was still that naive girl from 2 years ago? The officers approached. Tyler had violated the terms of his bail by contacting us since we had a restraining order against him. Tyler, Bennett, Officer Rodriguez said, you're under arrest for violating the restraining order and harassment. The journalist kept asking questions while Tyler was being handcuffed. How many families have you destroyed? What's your total profit from these scams? Do you feel remorse for the lives you've ruined? Tyler couldn't answer. He was incomplete. Shocked, Sophia approached Tyler while they were putting handcuffs on him. Tyler, she told him, looking him straight in the eyes, did you think you could come back into my life and manipulate me again? I learned from your mistakes. I learned to recognize predators like you. And now the whole world will know what kind of monster you are. Sophia, I really wanted to apologize. Your apologies are worthless, Tyler. Justice and truth are what matter. The journalist's article came out the following week with a headline that went around all of Arizona. The marriage predator. How a personal trainer destroyed dozens of families. The article included photos of Tyler, details of his scams, interviews with his victims, and a timeline of his crimes. The video of the arrest at Starbucks went viral on Phoenix social media, then Arizona, then the entire United States. Tyler Bennett became the national symbol of romance scammers. Tyler was tried and sentenced to 8 years in federal prison without possibility of parole. The judge said he was a serial predator who had caused incalculable psychological and economic damage to innocent families across the country. Was Sophia's revenge perfect? Tell me in the comments. And if you think Tyler deserved it, leave a like on the video. But the story doesn't end with Tyler's conviction. The real victory was the reconstruction of our family. Today, 2 years after the wedding that never was, I can say our family has survived. Different, more fragile in some ways, but stronger and wiser in others. My mother has worked tirelessly to rebuild trust. In 2 years, working as an assistant in the nursing home and doing extra jobs on weekends, she has managed to save almost $12,000. It's not much compared to the $61,000 that was wasted, but it represents her concrete commitment to repairing the damage caused. I'll never be able to return everything, she often tells me, but I'll keep trying for the rest of my life. It's the least I can do. My mother has also profoundly changed as a person. She's more humble, more aware, more attentive to others. She has learned to recognize the signs of manipulation and now helps other elderly women in her nursing home avoid similar scams. I learned the hard way, she told me recently, that when something seems too good to be true, it probably isn't true. Sophia married David 6 months ago, in September 2025. It was a small but beautiful wedding, held in the same desert botanical garden where she was supposed to marry Tyler. Sophia had told me she wanted to reclaim that place, transform it, from a symbol of betrayal into a symbol of true love. David is everything Tyler pretended to be. Honest, transparent, respectful, genuinely in love with Sophia. He has no secrets, no hidden agendas, doesn't manipulate anyone. He's simply a good man who loves my daughter. During her speech at the wedding, Sophia said something that deeply moved me. 2 years ago, I learned in the most painful way possible that not all people who say they love you really do. But I also learned that true love exists, and it's worth waiting for. David has shown me the difference between manipulative obsession and genuine love. My mother was present at the wedding, but sat discreetly in the back. She didn't have a special role in the ceremony, didn't make speeches, didn't walk down the aisle. But Sophia had allowed her to be there, and that was already a big step toward forgiveness. During the ceremony, I saw my mother cry. They weren't tears of joy, but tears of regret for everything she had lost with her wrong choices. Tears for the trust she might never fully recover, for the relationship with her granddaughter that would never be the same again. After the ceremony, my mother approached Sophia with humility. "You're beautiful, dear," she told her. "And you deserve all the happiness in the world." Sophia hugged her briefly. "Thank you, Grandma. I'm glad you're here." It wasn't the relationship they had before, but it was something. It was a fragile but real beginning of reconstruction. The forgiveness process was long and complicated. It took months before I could look at my mother without feeling anger. It took even more months before Sophia could be in the same room with her grandmother without feeling pain. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means choosing to move forward without being consumed by bitterness. I told my mother I forgave her, but that trust had to be rebuilt every day with concrete actions, not just words. "I know, Jennifer," she replied, "and I'm grateful for every Dare you give me this chance? Our family now operates under new rules we had to learn at our expense. Total transparency about money. No one has exclusive access to family savings, but no secrets about relationships or new friendships. If someone starts behaving differently, we talk about it openly. Immediate communication about concerns or suspicions. We no longer ignore warning signs to keep the peace. These are rules we never thought we'd have to establish in a family, but they became necessary to rebuild trust after such a deep betrayal. What I learned from this devastating experience is that emotional manipulation can hit anyone, at any age. My mother wasn't stupid, naive, or desperate. She was an intelligent and capable woman who met a skilled predator at the most vulnerable moment of her life. Manipulators like Tyler are professionals. They study their victims, identify their vulnerabilities, and exploit them with surgical precision. Tyler knew exactly what to say to a 62-year-old widow who felt invisible and forgotten. The signs were always there, but we ignored them because we didn't want to believe that a person we loved could betray us so deeply. Secret phone calls, strange behaviors, sudden personality changes, mysterious expenses, all warning signs we rationalized instead of investigating. If there's something I want people to learn from our story, it's these fundamental lessons. Always trust your instincts. If something seems strange to you, it probably is. Don't ignore that little voice in your head telling you something's wrong. Don't be afraid to ask difficult questions. If someone you love starts behaving differently, ask for explanations. Don't settle for vague or evasive answers. Always protect your savings. Never give anyone complete access to your money. No matter how much you love or trust them. Talk openly in the family. If we had confronted our suspicions instead of ignoring them to maintain harmony, maybe we could have prevented this whole disaster. Don't be afraid to seem paranoid. It's better to be cautious and wrong than to be naive and lose everything. Recognize that manipulators are often charming. Tyler was handsome, athletic, articulate, convincing. He didn't look like a criminal. The most dangerous predators are often those who seem most normal and attractive. Our story became famous on social media and in Arizona local newspapers. It was shared thousands of times on Facebook, went viral on TikTok, was discussed on radio talk shows. Most reactions were supportive and solidary. Hundreds of people wrote to us telling similar stories, thanking us for sharing our experience, saying it had helped them recognize similar signs in their lives. But some comments were cruel and insensitive. How could you not notice? The grandmother is disgusting. It's obvious it was a scam. You deserved what happened to you. Reading these comments was painful, but it also helped us understand that many people don't comprehend the sophisticated psychology of emotional manipulation. It's easy to judge from the outside when you've never lived a similar experience. Today, as I tell this story 2 years later, I'm sitting in the garden of our house in Phoenix. Sophia and David are celebrating their 6th month of marriage with a small romantic trip to California. My mother is at work in the nursing home, where she has now become supervisor of assistants thanks to her dedication and reliability. We're not the same family we were 3 years ago. We've changed, we've been deeply hurt, we've lost innocence and blind trust. But we've survived. The most painful truth I've learned is that sometimes the people we love most are those who can do us the most devastating harm. But this doesn't mean we have to stop loving. It means we have to learn to love more wisely, with more awareness, with more protections. If there's one thing I want everyone to understand from our story, it's this. Emotional manipulation can happen to anyone, in any family, at any age. My mother wasn't a typical victim. She was a strong, intelligent woman who had raised a family and overcome her husband's death. But she met Tyler at the right moment of her vulnerability. Don't judge victims. Don't assume you should have noticed. Professional manipulators are incredibly skilled at their craft. They're consummate actors who know exactly what to say and how to behave to get what they want. But always trust your instincts. Ask questions. Protect your family and your savings. And never be afraid to confront uncomfortable truths rather than live in dangerous illusions. True love never asks to betray family. True love never asks to lie, steal, or hide. True love doesn't build itself on the destruction of other relationships. If what you're experiencing requires secrecy, lies, or betrayals, it's probably not love. It's manipulation disguised as affection. But the most important lesson I've learned is that we can rebuild, restart, become stronger than before. Don't allow yourselves to live in constant doubt or paralyzing fear. Don't accept half-truths or vague explanations. You deserve transparency, honesty, respect. And above all, don't be afraid to start over. No matter how old you are or how much time you think you've lost. A day of authentic life is better than years of life built on lies. Sophia has proven this to me. After experiencing the most painful betrayal imaginable, she found the courage to love again. She found a man who respects her, values her, loves her without ulterior motives. Her marriage to David is proof that after the storm can come serenity. Even my mother, in her small way, is trying to rebuild. She never fully recovered the esteem and trust she lost, but she's trying every day to be a better person. She's humble, she's repentant, and she's working concretely to repair the damage she caused. Now I'm curious about you who have listened to this long and complex story. What would you have done in my place when you discovered the messages? How would you have handled the confrontation with my mother? Would you have forgiven such a deep betrayal? How do you think trust can be rebuilt after such total destruction? Write it in the comments below. I always read everything and try to respond when I can. And if this story has affected you, please share it. Not for morbid curiosity, but because it might help other families recognize similar signs before it's too late. Sometimes other people's stories can be the key to saving your own family. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I publish true and shocking stories like this every Tuesday and Friday. Also activate the bell so you don't miss any. Meanwhile, on the final screen I leave you 2 other incredible stories of family betrayals that will surely leave you speechless. Thank you for listening to the end of this long and painful story. Thank you for not judging, for understanding, for showing empathy toward a destroyed family that found a way to rebuild itself. And always remember, true love never betrays family. If someone asks you to choose between them and the people who have always loved you, always choose family. Because love that asks you to destroy other loves isn't love. It's possession, manipulation, selfishness. True love builds bridges, it doesn't burn them. It unites, doesn't divide. It protects, doesn't destroy. 2 months ago, I received a letter from the federal prison where Tyler is serving his sentence. He wrote that he had repented, that he had understood the harm he had done, that he hoped one day to be able to ask forgiveness from all the families he had destroyed. I showed the letter to Sophia. She looked at me and said, "Mom, it's too late for apologies. Some actions can't be forgiven, only overcome." And we overcame them without his help. She's right. Tyler can be as sorry as he wants, but the damage has been done. Lives have been changed forever. Relationships have been broken. Trust has been destroyed. We chose not to let his betrayal define us. We chose to rebuild, to forgive where possible, to move forward with wisdom and strength. Sometimes, the best revenge is simply living well, despite what they've done to you. And that's exactly what we're doing. Our family is stronger now. Not because we weren't hurt, but because we chose not to let the wounds destroy us. And this, in the end, is the greatest victory of all.